Cool. There we go. All right, everybody. Welcome to Charity Tuesday, best day of the month. We are raising money for NORD, the National Organization for Rare Diseases. It's a research organization that tries to find cures and treatments for rare ailments that affect people. And because these rare diseases affect small pockets of the population, there isn't a large base for fundraising for the cure of these diseases. So one of our viewers, his daughter was recently diagnosed with a pretty gnarly rare disease, and so in her honor, we're raising $1,000, hopefully more, for NORD, so we can help those folks. We're up to $137 already before we even started the show, which thank you so much. Left hand wave my left hand. Thank you for a nice big one. Wheat Wild, thank you so much. Andrew Stewart, JM Gill, thank you. Christopher S, thank you so much. And first name, last name, thank you. Thank you everybody for jumping in there. We're 14.2% of the way to our $1,000 goal for Charity Tuesday today. And you guys are awesome. This is the best day of the year, of the month. Every Charity Tuesday is just the best show we have. And I want to thank you guys for that. And yeah, you guys are you folks are fantastic. Thank you. Thank you so much for jumping in there and doing that. Bam. Oh, dang it. I don't know how. Fuck, monkey. How did I do that? Somehow I knocked my chair over. I didn't mean to scare you, monkey. Everything's okay, buddy. Everything's okay. You can get. Come here. Get back up there. Be a happy dog. I didn't mean to scare you. I just tried to adjust and my chair got caught in the carpet. We're okay. It's good. All right. So you can be Emperor Palpatine under your blanket right there for everybody. Yeah. That should be our Halloween costumes, Emperor Palpatine. Okay. All right. What was happening? Oh, the memes went a little green today. We had, 10% on GME, 7 or 8% on AMC. I just looked at my little list here on my phone. Yeah, well, we're getting a little after hours drop on them. But Bed Bath & Beyond went up. Metamaterial went up. Even Revlon Q went up. Not much, only $1.70. But it was Newegg, HYMC, Tilray, Ader, Gree, Expert, Bed Bath & Beyond, Sundial. It was a lot of green. I mean, the whole market in general. The whole market in general had a lot of green. But there were still some that got hit hard. Pinterest collapsed. Amazon dropped a lot. Microsoft dropped a lot. Starting to see dips now in the crypto. But SPY's up to 382. What the... Man, they're setting SPY up for a huge drop. There's no reason the SPY should be at 382. Palpatine. Okay. So, yeah, so we got lots of pop there. Might have just been the market in general being like, everything's fine. But my guess is they're setting everybody up for a big fall or something. Okay. Hoshi Gaming, Houston. A close Japanese friend told me this today. She says it's a very common phrase for them to use. But this is the first time I've heard it. Is she BSing me? Something. Okay. Let's go to... where are you? Oh crap! I didn't change the. I didn't turn off the intro. Well, we can go there. And oh fuck me. Okay. Well, now I'm trapped in the intro zone. And I just got Eye of Africa. Okay. Well, it's Cherry Tuesday. Give you guys what you want. Eye of Africa. And a second intro. Hopefully not knock my chair over this time. Okay, here we go. It's the nighttime one. It's the wrong intro. Oh, for crying out loud. I'd both... What? Alright, you're off. You're off. Alright, well... Now that my brain is fuming at myself here, we can... Hoshi, you suck. Lost Waves, what's up with your boy Kermit the Frog? I don't know. Does he bump his ass when he hops? Since Stephen Hawking, left-hand wave, since Stephen Hawking died, who would you say is the smartest person in the world now? Andy Richter. There. That's who the smartest person in the world is. Andy Richter. Comedian. Humorist. Celebrity Jeopardy champ. Multiple Celebrity Jeopardy champion. Andy Richter is the smartest person in the world. Houston, can you pat your head and your belly at the same time? I mean, patting is easy. It's the rubbing and patting that people have a problem with, right? The kid works at Home Depot mixing paint. Yes, he's the smartest person in the world. Houston, McRib is back. Will this be your next food try? I've never had a McRib. So we should make a list. We should make a list on Go Ask Houston of things I've never eaten. I've never eaten, was it Culver's? Never eaten Chipotle. I've never eaten Panera bread. Never eaten Five Guys. I've never had a McRib. Probably lots of things out there I haven't eaten. We'll make a list of on Go Ask Houston of the things I haven't eaten. Daniel Bachelor Houston, best ships in a sci-fi movie or series. Red Dwarf and Red Dwarf, number 1 of all time. Number 2, I would go with the newer version of Battlestar Galactica. Number 3, probably a Borg cube. Number 4, Death Star. I think the idea of building a fake moon, is pretty cool. 5, the weird Mormon ship in The Expanse that they put in the dome that would have like farm fields and stuff. In I think it was the first season of the Orville. There was a giant like agrarian ship just floating through space in one of the episodes. That one was pretty cool too. I don't know. I kind of like the idea of those giant ones that are made to look like a completely different environment. We're at 293. Well, shoots, brah. We should probably do our thank yous since we're at almost 30% of the way there. Tom Zaki, thank you so much. Boris, Michael Ahero, Prontal, PG, thank you, PG. Benedict, thank you. Don Caesar, Shadem, awesome. $293, 29.3% of our way, and we are 10 minutes in. 10 minutes and 3 intros and a fallen chair and an Eye of Africa into our show already. So, the shit show is here. We're raising money for the National Organization of Rare Diseases in the process. So, woo! Way to go, us. Okay. Andrew, good to catch you live. Glad you like the shirts. Thank you, Andrew. I have gone through the Andrew Stewart shirts. We're back to my current collection right now. I like this one. Nice geometric designs on it. I also have a great. You guys like the comic Oglaf, which is my favorite part about Sundays, is a new Oglaf comic every day. But I love this shirt. Oh, there we go. The upright towers of Pisa, celebrating competence. Okay. And thank you, Anonymous, for jumping in there as well. We're at 299, 29.9% of the way to our $1,000 goal. Okay. Hoshi Gaming, fun enough for a dude with like a 400 IQ. The smarter you are, the more chill you want to live. Yeah, man. Like, if you became Star Child, you just became just like a pure energy field of intelligence. Like, what then becomes your life? Like, what then? What else do you have to accomplish? You became Star Child. You know the entire universe. Like, what do you do with the information? Are you like Dr. Manhattan and you're just like, I just can't deal with these people anymore? I can totally picture Dr. Manhattan saying fuck it and going and like shaking paint at Home Depot. Like, right? He went and like sat by himself on Mars for a long time, just staring off into space, going, oh, I know too much. I'm too powerful. Yeah. So, what do you get with 400 IQ? What are you gonna do? You can try to solve all everyone's problems, but then they're not gonna appreciate it. You're like a Star Trek society meeting a pre-warp culture. You know, you just can't give them all that information because they don't know what to do with it. They're gonna use it for evil or something. So you may as well just go to Home Depot and shake paint. Meanwhile, no, I'm about to abort a flight for 11 hours. Why now? Oh, well, at least there's 60 shekels for the cause. The second intro. Well, there you go. Meanwhile, you're flying first class. You probably have Wi-Fi the entire way across. You can annoy all of your neighbors on the plane and watch something very loudly on your phone without headphones and just really make them just have their eyes twitch and, you know, the anger comes forward. James Fisher, Houston, why can't you talk about MMTLP? I must have missed something. Because my brother works for metamaterial. But previously said, don't talk about metamaterial. I was like, cool. MMTLP is a metamaterial. You have nothing to do with that. And then the PR department apparently hounded my brother, and my brother had to call and say, don't talk about MMTLP either. So, well, we won't talk about it. Even though, like, my brother has nothing to do with anything on the MMTLP side. My brother is just responsible for making sure the factory at metamaterial is finished and their products get out the door. The MMTLP things are all the former Torchlight people. They're all doing that. They're completely separate, but still, they said no. Lost Waves, do you think Anderson Silva will KO Jake Paul? God, I hope so. Jake Paul getting knocked the fudge out would just be beautiful. So yeah, I'm okay with that. I hope it's not one of those, like, they just sort of punch near each other type charity bouts or something, and no, knock him out. Dan Marshall, Houston, your charity shows would probably raise a lot more cash and move them closer to payday. I mean, yeah, probably. But then it wouldn't be Charity Tuesday. It would be Charity Friday or something. And we already did all the marketing for Charity Tuesday, so it's Charity Tuesday. Left-hand wave. How does wood become petrified? Wood becomes petrified when minerals get inside the cell walls of the plant, the animal, the whatever, the bones. So there's tiny little pukas, little cells, and minerals slowly filter in and soak like a sponge soaking up a bunch of other material, and it fills in and then it lithifies. And that's essentially how that happens. If you ever go to Iceland, if you go to Iceland, You spend way too much money to spend your day at the Blue Lagoon, which is the big hot spring. It's actually a runoff for a geothermal plant, but it's beautiful. It's blue, it's warm, and you're out in the icy Icelandness. If you go there, the water is supremely rich with silica. And if you put your head underwater, which you should not do if you get to the Blue Lagoon, for this one reason, is that your hair will petrify. The little tiny cracks in the strands of your hair will fill with silica and lithify, and your hair will literally just crack. So if you are someone who has especially long hair, like beautiful, rich, flowing hair, you're going to want to tuck that stuff up in a bow, cover your head with like a swim cap, and just try not to get any of that water in your hair, because the silica will turn your hair to stone, and it will just become a shattery, brittle, hard hair. So you want to avoid that if you can. Rocket Man, if GME had so many shorts, it would have rocketed by now. It's not going past $40. I mean, it was past $40 a few weeks ago. Why can't it go past $40 again? It's done it a bajillion times. So it has it in it. It has potential in it, totally. And if they had closed GME's short positions, it would have rocketed to thousands of dollars by now, right? Because I believe now there's more shares DRS than the listed short interest, which essentially means it's almost mathematically impossible for them to officially close without trying to use synthetics to kick the can down the road. Dan Margello made a nice chunk of change on Party City calls today. Good job. It'll get to 40 on fundamentals by Q8. Q8. Oh, crud. And that just reset again. There we go. Okay. Fud Trader, allow me to first wish you happy birthday. Question: what can you tell me about the mineral perovskite? Perovskite. Absolutely nothing. Perovskite. Sounds like something they found in the Urals. It's a calcium titanium oxide mineral compound of calcium titanate. It is also applied to class of compounds. Let's see here. What we got? Okay. We're not raising money for Wikipedia today. We're raising money for Nord. Class of compounds, same crystal structure, perovskite structure, many indications. Where's history? Mineral. Yep, Ural Mountains. Boom. Told you. You see something that's like that, it's perovskite. It's definitely Urals. There's lots of cool minerals in the Urals, man. It is a very gem-rich area, very ancient mountain range. Discovered in 1839 after mineralogist Lev Perovsky. Perovsky's notable crystal structure was first described by Victor Goldschmidt in 1926. Tolerance factors. Crystal structure was later published for extraction. Occurrence. Found Earth mantle, so it's something that was very deep, gets lifted. Is restricted to the silica undersaturated ultramafic rocks. It's found also in Arkansas. Altar blocks of limestone. Okay, so it looks like limestone that's under pressure. Not quite marbleized yet. Hey, they can find it in carbonaceous chondritic meteorites. How about that? All right. In stars and brown dwarfs, formation of perovskite grains is responsible for depletion of titanium oxide in the photosphere. So this thing also forms in the envelopes of stars and brown dwarfs. What? How come I didn't know about this? Temperature gets lower for stars and brown dwarfs, even lower mass. This forms temperatures below 2,000 degrees Kelvin. Crazy. All right. Huh. Between M and L stars. I've never learned about this stuff. We never learned. When I did my stellar astrophysics class, we never learned about this. Pretty neat looking. Looks it's got these little cubes. Looks kind of like what does Glenna? Does Glenna do a cube like that? Pyrites do. Pyrites will make cubes. Groovy. There's a lot of cool stuff found in the Urals. Alexandrite was discovered in Urals. Demontoid garnets, my favorite garnet, were discovered in the Urals. Lots of cool stuff found there. Brandon T. Afternoon Houston, Disney World or Disneyland? I've never been to Disney World. I went to Disneyland once when I was 11 or 12. I think I was almost 12, so I was like a month from my 11th birthday, or my 12th birthday. I had fun, but as I got older and I went to like Six Flags where the roller coasters are more extreme, I was like, this one calls to me a lot more than Disneyland ever did. I had fun at Disneyland. It's just I didn't feel like I was going to die on the roller coasters, which is much more exciting. So I was much more a Six Flags person than Disneyland. I've never been to Disney World. Maybe if I were filthy rich, I would go and spend like 2 weeks figuring out all the little quirks and charms of Disney World. But I've never been. So it's like Culver's restaurant. I have no experience with it. Griffin's mom thinks Jamie will squeeze by year end. I hope so, but I mean, we need the economy to absolutely just shit the bed first, I think, before anything happens. Get forward, Houston. How long do you think it'll take the S1 to clear? Wink, wink. I mean, it was 15 days for them to hear back on that other one, most recent one. So 15 days later. Kelly Reed, Houston, how screwed are we? When every currency falls and the US dollar is king, what happens to the debt then towards countries using their other currencies? Will a lot more countries default then? Yeah, because a lot of that debt is in US dollars. And if they don't have enough of their local currency to pay that debt, they'll have to print more, which makes it worth less, which means they have to print more, which makes it worth less. And it's just a never-ending cycle. A lot of countries may have to make what I would call a false fiat, where they directly tie their currency's value to the US dollar. They'll say, all right, 10 drachmas is exactly $1 US. And that's the only trade we'll do there. And that's what Zimbabwe had to do to stop their runaway inflation, was they directly tied the Zimbabwe dollar to the US dollar, and then they made the US dollar part of their official currency. And that's how they stopped their runaway inflation. I mean, they were printing like $500 billion notes. And by the time they printed it, they were worthless. So they had to print even higher denomination. Turkey right now is in the process of printing too much. It sounds like Argentina is in the process of printing too much. And all these groups are going to be facing just absolute runaway inflation unless they get their currencies under control. It's going to be too bad. And the U.S. government will readily sacrifice every other nation's economy in the world to preserve our own dollar's value. And it's working. I mean, as far as inflation is concerned, we've got among the lowest in the world. Even though it's still hitting us hard, by any measure, ours isn't as bad as it is for everybody else. Griffin's mom, thank you for doing your show, Houston. We heart fist. Okay. Jamie might be its own currency after this crisis. Eggspit, please, could you explain how trading futures differ to standard options? Futures are a contract saying, I will buy this at this price, and it must be delivered on this date. Whereas options are saying, I have the option to purchase this if the price reaches X. And that's the big difference. It's like a futures contract, let's say a futures contract for oil. Oil just right now is trading for $90, and you'll say, all right, I promise you that I will buy 1 million barrels of your oil at $90 in May of next year. No matter what the price is. If it's $200, I'm getting a screaming deal. If it's $30, I'm getting totally raked over the coals. But I've promised that I will take a delivery of this oil then for this price. You can do the same thing with stocks. So a lot of futures you'll see in stocks are usually overnight futures or over the weekend. So let's say the stock market closes on Friday, the aftermarket closes at 8 p.m. or whatever, and someone at a futures desk is like, okay, I will buy this stock at this price Monday morning at open. And that's the contract they do. And they find somebody who's like, I will sell you that stock at this price Monday open. And one guy thinks the stock might scream, so he's getting a good deal. The other guy thinks the stock's going to drop, so he's getting a good deal. And that's how the futures contract works out. That's the difference between that and options. And there's Ed saying, turn off the intro. So you're 1 minute too late, Ed. I was distracted by the fact that I'm pretty sure my chair got stuck on a monkey bone and then fell over. $372. I got to go do my thank yous real quick. We are... Okay. Scott Lumley, thank you. Hungry Caveman, thank you. Julius Miami, Julio's in the house. Anonymous, thank you. Riptide Redemption, thank you so much. 37.2% of our way to our $1,000 goal to raise money for the National Organization for Rare Diseases, a research group that raises funds to help folks living with the weirdest... Like, imagine every episode of, oh crap, what was that TV show? House. Every episode of House, where they're like, it's not lupus, and they have to find some weird disease. This group does the research trying to figure out how to treat those diseases, how to find cures for the diseases, help people, because a lot of these rare diseases are super fatal. So, you know, they're helping folks. So I want to thank you so much for getting almost to 40% now. We're 28 minutes into the show. We are almost 40% of the way there. So, woo! Thank you. Good shirt, Houston from Snurtler. It is a good shirt. It's a very good shirt. It's a very plastic shirt. It's not good for a hot day, but I like it. Trey Spider, more intros, please. Andrew Stewart, Houston, do you think autism be a genetic mutation that is an evolution trait for a more tech-based world? No. It appears autism is connected to gut health. There's a really, really cool study that was done a few years ago. Have you guys heard about fecal transplants? I mean, it sounds gross, but a lot of people who have ailments, IBS, Crohn's disease, things like that, you take dookie from a healthy person and you just shove it up there, plop, deposit it, and the gut flora from that dookie fills the intestines of the new person and can cure a lot of gut ailments. And Arizona State a few years ago did a study where they took 80 severely autistic people, and a lot of autistic people have a lot of gut issues. Not all of them, but huge majority of them have incredible gut issues. And they did fecal transplants in these folks, and something ridiculous, like 80% of them no longer had symptoms of autism. Where's it? Arizona State fecal transplant autism. Okay, here it is. 50%. Okay. I was off by my numbers. So autism symptoms reduced nearly 50% 2 years after fecal transplant. So this is a couple years ago, 2019. So where's the data here? 2 years after treatment, most of the initial improvements in gut symptoms remained. In addition, parents reported a slow, steady reduction in autism symptoms. During treatment over the next 2 years, a professional evaluator found 45% reduction in core autism symptoms, language, social interaction, behavior, 2 years post-treatment compared to before treatment began. Absolutely just wild. So there's okay, all right. Professional evaluation revealed 45% decrease in autism symptoms with the baseline. Researchers note that although there may be some placebo effect, much of the effect appears to be real. At the start of the study, 83% of participants rated as severe autism. At the end of the study, only 17% were severe. 39% were mild, moderate, and 44% were below the cutoff for mild autism, meaning of the kids they gave fecal transplants to, 44% no longer had autism at the end. They literally were below the cutoff for mild autism. Absolutely crazy. And the fact that this didn't get more attention just blows my mind. That they essentially were able to reduce autism in almost every person who had it just by doing fecal transplants and fixing the gut issues. I mean, who here hasn't had a weird experience where, like, the other night I was so sleepy. I was like, oh my gosh, I have no energy or whatever. And then I went to the bathroom and I felt like a new human being. It is very weird how the connection between your gut and your brain works, and we have no idea why. Like, part of me is like, are we like octopus and the multiple tentacles act as our giant collective brain, and we got some sort of like brain thing happening on in our gut? It's very weird how your body gets connected in those ways. But the fact that they were able to link autism to gut health in such a dramatic way and essentially eliminate autism in 44% of the people that they treated with this is absolutely mind-blowing. And why this didn't get more attention. In here it talks about, okay, Adam said many participants in the trial shared common traits, including C-section birth, reduced breastfeeding, increased antibiotics, and low fiber intake by the mother and child, all of which led to limited biodiversity in their gut bacteria. Due to the open label nature of the study and the small sample size, more research is needed. Boom. Because they only had, how many did they put in the sample size? It's like 80 or something, if I remember correctly. They listed it here. They don't say the number of people. I thought they did. Why won't you give me the number, man? Not give me the number of how many people were studied. Might be in a different paper. But anyway, it was a small sample, but I think it was like 80 kids. I read another paper on it somewhere. But it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. All right. Trey Spider, I miss Big Dog. Where's Monkey Butt? Monkey Butt is on the floor. Big Dog, I still find his hair, and I probably will for the rest of my life. Is he missed? Not very much. I only think about him when I find his hair or someone mentions him. Other than that, he has left my thoughts. Okay. Okay. Got the part where the chair falls over. That was awesome. Chair knocks over sound should be part of the intro now. Just in my head, 5.1 earthquake in Bay Area. What you know about that particular fault? What? When was the earthquake? .1 tumbler near San Jose. Which fault was that on? Okay. Tuesday says the quake hit around 11:42 a.m. So that was just like 2 hours ago. Cavaleris fault. It initially registered 5.0, but was later upgraded. Nope. No. Oh, what are you doing? Go away. No one wants to talk to you, listen to you. 3.1 aftershock. A couple minutes later. Far south of Santa Cruz. It's the biggest quake since what, 07? Well, not bad at 6.0. Okay, so Cavalier's Fault. Cavalier's Fault. Branch of San Andreas. I think it's the one that goes through like Hollinger and stuff. Hayward. Oh, links with Hayward. Okay. So there's a bunch of spurs. So the main San Andreas cuts just west of San Francisco. Cavaleris is the one that goes to the east, like on the other side of the Oakland Hills. And Hayward kind of cuts through like Oakland and up into Marin and there. So this guy here, and it's because faults aren't perfect. They still shear and crack other rock around them when because rock does eventually twist and bend, but doesn't twist and bend all the time. So when you've got two huge plates slipping and sliding against each other, you're gonna have other stuff crack and kringle and whatever off to the side. So it's a strike slip that's kind of parallel, essentially. That's why I like that guy. You'll get the bigger ones on the San Andreas, but you'll get some pretty decent sized ones in these little sister faults that are off to the side. Okay. Oh, whoa, we're at 476. Anonymous, thank you, Anonymous. Another Anonymous, thank you. Bat Bones, thank you. Oh, goodness, we're almost 50% of the way there. This is where I say there's 266 current viewers. If they all donated $3, we'd take care of it. There's Bat Bones did $3. So if the rest of you in here did $3, we could meet our goal. Hint, hint, wink, wink, so you know more. We're so close. We are so close to our $1,000 goal. Almost halfway there, and we are 38 minutes into the show. So, you guys are awesome. Fantastic. Okay. More cowbell, more chair crashing. Joshua Otten, you missed the biggest news. Adidas dropped Yay. Yeah, Kanye got dropped by Adidas last night, late. Like 1 a.m. the announcement came out. About time. I mean, if you know the story of Adidas, it was founded by Nazis. Their brothers founded rival Puma. So Puma and Adidas have been like rival siblings ever since, but they were all Nazis. So, the fact that they hadn't been dropping Kanye after his recent anti-Semitic tirades, with people were like, what is going on? And the American headquarters of Adidas is in Portland, and people in Portland don't quite stand for that stuff. But there was a social media push for Adidas to drop them, and they did. And, I can't blame them. Yeah. PG, Houston, what will spark a world war? Who would be fighting who? How long might it last? And describe the devastation in hardest hit countries. And any other thoughts? Two big scenarios as I see it. One is Russia either invades a NATO country, which would be really dumb because they don't have the military or the bullets or anything to handle that. Or two, Russia backed into a corner, drops a nuke or does some other weapon of mass destruction thing. And that would spark the US, if not all of NATO, to jump in and just conventional warfare the shit out of Russia, which could lead to as a result. The other is China invading Taiwan. And if China invaded Taiwan, you would probably see North Korea jump in and attack South Korea. So it would very much be the US, Japan, South Korea, and other neighbors around China fighting, either to just generically fighting China or specifically fighting in South Korea against North Korea and in Taiwan against any invasion there. I think it would be just the most financially burdensome thing in the entire world if China were to try and invade Taiwan. it would reduce the ability to make electronics all over the world, so that essentially we wouldn't be able to get new phones for a decade because the infrastructure doesn't exist with the electronics we have to be able to get enough new phones to people. So we'll be rooting through our old drawers to find brick Nokias to use when their current phones die. And China would lose almost every customer they have for everything they made. It would be one of those things where, you know, you want a new camping tent? Well, that camping tent is sewn at a factory in China. Therefore, we can no longer import that camping tent. You want a new television? Well, it's made in a factory in China. Therefore, we can't import the television. And there would essentially cut off almost all of China to the rest of the world. You might have some imports going to Russia, but Russia doesn't have any money. You might have some imports going to India, but India will quickly realize that you know, it's not worth it. Although India might use the opportunity to take over the disputed border area up in the Himalayas with China. Oh, Tinder Hot. We got the hot boys and girls jumping in here. Fantastic. Hot boys and girls. Thank you. Thank you for getting on that, Daphne. Hot boys and girls, you can only post your stuff if you donate. I'll let you know right now, whatever weird sex robot is watching this show, I will let you post the ads for your disgusting links so long as you donate to this charity. So if you help us get to $1,000, I'll let you post all the hot boys and girls you want. And but you never donate. You always jump in here. You always try to take our attention, and you never once donate to the charities. So that's all I'm asking. You donate to the charity, you can post all the lewd links you want. I don't care. Now this is podcasting. Tom Zaki, Houston, donated a little bit because I know how important research is, especially for children. I had leukemia as a child twice. Oh, man. But I made it, and I'm 33. 33 years after that, still here. Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for donating, and I'm glad you made it. When I was in second grade, we had a little girl named Crystal that was in my second grade class, and she had leukemia and battled, and she didn't last through our second grade year. It was traumatic. Like, she was this happy, bright little kid, and by the time we got to like May, she wasn't in school anymore. And then at the end of school, our second grade teacher's like, "Yeah, Crystal passed away." Like, it's just heartbreaking. I'm glad you're able to pull through, and I'm glad you'll make it another 33 years. Thank you, Tom Zock. Tadas Mikalauskas, there is a problem with YouTube donation. Card gets charged, but donation doesn't seem to reach YouTube. Weird? I don't know. If you have problems, YouTube, I had to complain a couple weeks ago about people not being able to post coordinates, and they made a ticket. They got back to me. They were super helpful. They were the nicest, most helpful customer service I've ever experienced in my entire life. So if you're having issues with trying to help a charity, my guess is that the YouTube folks will gladly jump in there and help you with whatever the problem is. Make a ticket with them. They did a live chat with me, and then we're like, okay, we got to talk to some coders to figure out this thing. We're going to talk to them. We're going to email you back, and we'll open up another conversation. And I've never had better customer service with an issue ever in my entire life. So I recommend, especially when it comes to like trying to help a charity and help folks in need, it seems like they would definitely jump on board and figure out why that's happening. They seem to want to fix that stuff, and they have a really good program for doing that. Okay. Topical TV, Houston, I abhor what the police have become in America. Post Malone asks, where would my money best be spent to combat the police? Whew. this kind of harkens back to my third show, whichever one was one of my recorded shows where I talked about how to fix homelessness. A lot of our police budgets are spent dealing with unhoused people. And huge amounts of that budget, time, energy, labor is devoted to combating the symptoms of the societal problem. And the societal problem is trauma, mental illness, and drug and alcohol abuse. Those three things make for a huge portion of why we have homelessness. And in that trauma, there can be abuse at home. There can be sexual abuse and assault. There can be like the kids who are LGBT and their parents just kick them out. So they're suddenly homeless because they have no family anymore. And that leads to the trauma of living on the streets, trying to figure out how to survive. You know, they get stuck in sex trafficking, they get hooked on drugs. And then you have folks that have straight up psychosis. They might have schizophrenia or bipolar disorder or borderline, and they due to their mental illness, they break the social norms, they get cut off by their family, they lose friends, they lose loved ones, and they're suddenly on their own. You may have folks that are disabled, and they may have had caretakers, and those caretakers pass away, and all of a sudden you have a mentally disabled adult with no one to watch after them, and they're stuck on the streets. The best thing to combat runaway police departments is national health care. Single payer national health care that gets everyone treated. Because right now we have a healthcare system that essentially requires you to have a job to have health insurance, and everyone else is SOL. So we need to be able to cover those folks who are most in need and have a way to get them treatment, to get them into mental health care facilities, and get them off the street. Because if you're on the street, you're going to want to escape, and your method of escape, because you don't have an actual environment to go to, is going to be drugs and alcohol and other coping mechanisms. So those are all crimes, and those folks get arrested and then recycled through the system and then back on the street, and they get arrested again. It's just a rubber cycle until they die of an overdose or of exposure or whatever else. And we need to get them into facilities. 1963, President Kanye passed a mental health care bill that essentially would have built a mental health facility in almost every community in America. His sister was in and out of institutions. She had a lobotomy, all these things. And so he saw firsthand not only the care or lack of care for individuals like that, but the stress it put on the family, the fact that these large state hospitals were very far away from everyone. He wanted the hospitals in the communities so that those folks who are living in those hospitals, the mental health care facilities, could have access to their families and get regular visits, and people could check in on them and things like that. So he wanted to build these facilities basically in like every county or every major city in America so that there were small facilities and they could handle all those folks and get them contact with their families much more easily. He got assassinated. The bill that got passed never got its funding, and it languished for almost 20 years. And then in 1980, Jimmy Carter finally got the funding for it to start actually building those mental health facilities. And what we need in this country is about one long-term care bed per 600 people. That's just mathematically what it works out to the number of folks who have deep-seated psychosis is about 1 in 600. Probably need a couple extra beds just for folks who have temporary problems. But there are about 1 in 600 people need permanent institutionalization in the U.S. Plus, we need to have enough beds for the folks moving through rehab facilities, getting the help they need on their feet before they can be trusted to move on to like their own home and things like that after that. So Carter got the funding together finally in 1980, And then what happened is Reagan got elected in 1981, and Reagan stripped all the funding and canceled the entire program. Not only that, but cut all the funding for the federal funding for the existing state mental health hospitals. So those state mental health hospitals had to empty. And our homelessness problem is almost entirely related to President Reagan cutting the funding for all of our state hospitals. There is no federal funding for state hospitals anymore. And it results in things like San Francisco, which is a very famous large homeless population. 55% of the homeless in San Francisco have diagnosable psychosis. 55%. Our solution to someone being mentally insane is, well, go live on the street. That is not the sign of a healthy community. And thus, we have to devote a huge portion of our police budgets to handling thousands upon thousands of homeless people with mental illness. It's completely backwards. It's like, there's a hole in the dike and the ocean's going to flood in, and your solution is to just keep going buying duct tape rather than just repairing the dike or something. It's absolutely silly. And I brought this stat up before. I'm talking about just Seattle specifically, because Seattle has a very large homeless population for the size of city it is. The police get a $400 million budget. $200 million of that $400 million budget is devoted to police action with the homeless. So half of the police budget is dedicated to homelessness. The city itself spends $250 million a year battling homelessness outside of the police budget. So that's $400 to $450 million a year the taxpayers in the city of Seattle spend to fight homelessness. On top of that, another $900 million a year is raised by groups that treat homelessness. Whether it's soup kitchens, shelters, Union Gospel Mission, Salvation Army, etc. So about $1.3 to $1.35 billion a year is spent combating homelessness in the city of Seattle. There are 12,000 homeless in the city of Seattle, and it comes out to $108,000 per homeless person. Grandma, fuck you, Grandma. What the hell? Get out of here. You. Report. Harassment, bullying, hate speech. That's what you get, Grandma. Go away. Yeah. Okay. So, freaking racists just piss me off. So we definitely can do things to reduce the power scope that police departments have, and a large portion of that is going to be treating homelessness in America. And not just treating it, but essentially give people houses. We're already spending $108,000 of local money per homeless person to not solve homelessness. We'd be better off just giving them $108,000 and let them just make it rain or do whatever it is they would do with that money. Graham, what the fuck? Everybody, click on that person, report them. Put user in timeout. Okay. Yeah, report that grandma person. They need to go away. I do not appreciate that at all. At all. Especially on Charity Tuesday. Fucking dicks showing up, just being a racist asshole on a day we should be trying to help people and raise money for folks. And thank you, Daphne. Thank you, everybody else who reported that jerk. But we have a lot of issues with police departments, and one of them is, when actual crimes happen, they don't do anything. I've experienced it. We have we have incidences that happen. Someone commits a crime, you call the cops, and they're like, "Oh, okay." I'm like, "Are you gonna fill out a report?" They're like, "Oh, fine." And it comes time to arrest a person, and they won't do it. It's crazy. A friend of mine, he had a heart transplant a few years ago. He's actually a former police officer. He quit the department. He was while he's getting his master's degree, he was a police officer in Norman, Oklahoma. And after 2 years, he's like, I don't like any of these people. Of everyone I know, he hates cops more than anyone. He used to be a cop. And I think it was because where he was particularly, there was a lot of white supremacy in the police department, and it just made him incredibly uncomfortable. And this guy's a former cop. He's now got a new heart in him. He's not an old dude. He's a pretty young guy. He's 41 when he get his new heart in him. And he essentially, especially now during COVID, he can't leave his house, because if you get a new organ, you're on all these drugs that suppress your immune system, so your immune system doesn't attack the new heart, and getting a common cold can kill you. Jeez, man, what is wrong with this person? Oh my gosh. How many of these are they going to make? Sorry, this racist person. Yeah, report. Oh my gosh. It's going to take so much of our time today to deal with this person. All right. Okay. But getting me so distracted from what I'm trying to talk about here. It's just irking me. So my friend wakes up to the sound of this little old man downstairs getting his ass kicked. Right? Someone broke into the house, just beating up this 80-year-old man. So my friend yells, "Hey, I'm calling the cops. I don't know what's going on down there." And he calls the cops. And the guy comes upstairs and starts kicking the shit out of my friend, who has a new heart. It takes a long time for a donor heart to spool up before you can actually fight someone off. And he's getting his ass kicked. And the cops come. Turns out the guy is drunk, fresh out of prison after assault charges, on probation. And my friend's like, "Arrest him." And the cops are like, yeah, it's a lot of trouble. What you're going to have to do is you have to go to the court, file a restraining order against this guy, and that's all we can do. And he's like, "No, I'm a former cop. I know you can arrest him right now and charge him for assault, since you came in the door and saw him assaulting me. You are witnesses to this crime. You are police officers. Charge him with assault." And the cops were like, "No, you have to go get a restraining order." And my friend's like, "I don't drive. I don't have a car. I have no mode of transportation. How am I going to get the 6 miles to the courthouse to get this done?" They're like, "Not our problem." So he's got to figure out how to leave his house, get masked up, be a bubble boy, get to the court, file everything. Then 2 weeks later, there's a hearing. He's got to get back to the court, get that hearing, gets a restraining order. The restraining order gets finalized, made permanent. 2 days later, dude breaks into the house, starts kicking the crap out of him again. Calls the cops and tries to fight him off. The cops still won't arrest him. They just take him away. Devils take him away. It took this guy assaulting somebody else in another city for him to finally be arrested for breaking parole and committing a crime. The usefulness of the police is absolutely just abysmal. I mean, heck, in my town, the cops were so corrupt, and we are a wealthy community with a lot of police. The cops were so corrupt that they were running protection for an illegal brothel, and at an illegal speakeasy were involved in trafficking high school kids through the speakeasy to do sex work, to strip, prostitution, you name it. And that only fell apart 10 years ago because one of the cops shot a mentally ill man and then tried to cover it up. But it turned out the mentally ill man's brother-in-law was the head of the FBI for the Seattle area. And that was the only reason all that got uncovered, and a whole bunch of cops got fired and the department got overhauled. If he had never shot that dude, it would still be going on to this day. It's absolutely phenomenal. Hey, buddy. We definitely need police in this country to have better qualifications than they do. Because really, hey, bud, get in there. And I don't want to be like, "Oh, cops are bad," but a lot of them are. And it's a job that attracts people with cluster B personality disorders, narcissism, psychopathy, sociopathy, because they essentially can get away with doing whatever they want. And when they commit a crime, they don't get arrested for it. They just move to another department. And Scott Paul and Grip, a lot of cops need rigorous training. Yeah, we need a lot more rigorous training. You go to a European nation like Sweden, and the police are required to have a 4-year degree plus training on top of that. in America, we oftentimes don't even give psych evals for these guys. And not only that, police departments fought all the way to, I believe, the Supreme Court to declare that they don't have to hire anybody with an IQ above 105. So basically, you got a bunch of dummies with sociopathy running around with guns and batons. It's absolutely crazy, man. So yes, there are ways we can fight the bad cops. I think step number one is fix homelessness in this country, and that would immediately remove half the budget they have. When people talk about defund the police, they literally mean like take that $200 million that police are using in Seattle for throwing homeless people into jail and just in a rubber cycle, just a revolving door, and put it towards actually solving homelessness. But in the United States, because we are such a huge country, we need it done at the federal level. Each individual state can't create a universal healthcare system because it wouldn't be sustainable. Because you would have, you say Washington State creates a universal healthcare system, Idaho doesn't have it. Well, if you get diagnosed with a disease in Idaho, you're going to be like, well, I'm just going to move to Washington State and get my disease treated there. And so you're going to have imports. You need to have it be blanket coverage across the entire United States, murder the private health insurance companies, and you will solve so many problems that we have in this nation. And for you Europeans, you guys are so lucky. You think you got homeless people in Europe? You've seen nothing. I had a person from the UK try to argue with me about homelessness in the UK, and London has 12,000 homeless people and has a population of 10 million. Seattle's a population of 750,000 and there's 12,000 homeless people, right? And London counts people who are unhoused but have shelter, such as they're couch surfing or sleeping in their cars and stuff, as homeless. In the United States, those people are not homeless. If you're couch surfing, you're not homeless in the US. You have a house. If you're living in your car, you're not homeless. You have a house. It's only if you are physically living on the street are you homeless. So we don't count 5 million people in this country who are essentially unhoused, but living like on a couch or someone's porch or in their car or an RV or whatever. Those people aren't homeless, according to US stats. So we only have 600,000 homeless in the US, even though there's another 5 million people who essentially don't have steady homes. And we do a piss poor job of it. And it would be so much cheaper. It'd be so much cheaper. We would save so much money per citizen if we just housed these people and got them help. It's cheaper than cops. It's cheaper than jail. It's cheaper than, the crimes that to get committed by these folks to be able to survive. Because, they don't have money. They have to steal food. They have to do other crimes in order to get by. I'll end up ranting about this all night long. Anyway, we're at $634. Well, we might as well do some thank yous here. Where was my last one here? Trying to get up here. Bat Bones was our last one. Okay, Daphne, thank you, Daphne. Nil21981, thank you. The Oat Milk Man, the most threatening man on the internet. Oat Milk Man is such a nice guy, but my God, that name just... I just picture a horror movie called The Oat Milk Man. Everyone's like, that movie was the scariest movie ever. You are a wonderful person. Unpaid Overtime, thank you so much. Cameron Mirza, thank you. Wetson, thank you. Fred Jones, thank you. EclipseTickets.com, thank you so much. EclipseTickets.com. Thank you, Anonymous. Thank you, Beverly McCarthy. Thank you, Tyler Connor. Thank you, Not Your Friend. That's where we are. We're at $634, 63.4% of the way to our $1,000 goal. I love being able to do this on a green day. The last couple of Tuesdays we've done it have not been that green. It's been a little like pulling teeth. But I'm glad things were green today and folks are donating and feeling generous. Thank you. Okay, back to the chat because I'm only an hour behind now because I went on a 30-minute rant about homelessness. Eggplant King to be OPEX today. Maybe, but a lot of the market was green in general. So it may have just been a things are green today type day. Michael Harrow, Houston, if you rigged your chair to give you electric shocks every time you play a second intro, will it influence you next time you turn it off? A little negative reinforcement. Less carrot, more stick. Very possibly. Trey Spider McRib equals gross. Probably. David Morgan, he's on during the day. This is a sign of the apocalypse. Great shirt, but doesn't eclipse the one from a week or two ago. There was one during Shiny Shirt Week that was also spectacular. You will see Shiny Shirt Week starts the week of the election. Starts on the 7th. So 7th is beginning of Shiny Shirt Week, which will be 6 weeks of more or less of shiny shirts. You've seen those shirts before, I'll be honest, because I only have so many shiny shirts. But Shiny Shirt Week is the second week of November every year, and is the longest week of the year. It lasts until I run out of shiny shirts. So you may see some repeats in there. But you can also relive it all, as I'll post it all on Instagram and Twitter all over again. You'll see all my shiny shirts. Get Forged. Pegasus is way cooler than New Galactica. Well, I mean, Pegasus was a modern ship. Galactica was the old school rusty bucket of bolts. So yes, Pegasus was a cooler ship. But they had to sacrifice Pegasus, and, you know, which one lasted? Battlestar Galactica did. Firefly Serenity. I appreciated Firefly because they didn't have sound in space. Yeah. Orville, good writing. Orville's a great show. They just took too long between seasons, and so I totally forgot what had happened. And I was like, you're continuing a plot line from something from like 4 years ago, and I have no memory of it. Victor Weishoppel Wilhelmsen. That's a mouthful of a name you got there, Victor. Something far in the north. Where are we going? We have not done a Google Earth yet. Turn you on. Nope. There we go. Okay, we're going north. Going Iceland? We're going Reykjavik. We're going to the schlong of a building. What is this building? Smarland. That looks like a penis. Middle of Greater Reykjavik is one of the biggest shopping malls in Iceland with over 70 shops. Restaurants contain everything from... So it's a mall shaped like a penis. When was it built? It looks like a tall building next to the mall. I don't think that was there when I was there. When were you built? Nope. Wikipedia. No, it was in 2001. How did I not... Oh, I guess I never went to the shopping mall. I was there in 2010. It is a tall building next to them here. How far outside of town are you? So I guess... Oh, the main downtown area is over here. This is where I was. Was this area. That's where the museum is and the port and... Right? No, I'm looking in the wrong spot. Where that big tall church is? Heck, man. Oh no, that's up here. Oh, it's way outside of town. That's why I never went that way. Up here. This is the main part of town. Yeah. I think my favorite thing about Iceland was their Navy ship. It was just like a little cutter with a big giant pair of scissors on the front of it. And that's the Iceland's only Navy ship. And its job was to cut the long lines and the trawling lines of the British fishing vessels that invaded their fishing waters over something called the Herring Wars, where the UK and Iceland were just constantly sabotaging each other's fishing fleets because the other claimed that they were stealing their fishing stuff, their fishing stock. And so, like, yeah, Iceland's only Navy ship is just a ship with this huge pair of scissors on the front. It's pretty funny. Fantastic. Okay. Yeah. All right. Big Houston. Where was that? Was Wilhelmsen? Wilhelmsen? I hope I'm saying that right. Are you in Iceland? Are you an Iceland person? Or just a fan of penis-shaped buildings? Because, I mean, you know, where floats your boat. Does that mean that your dad's name was Wilhelm? And that your kid's name will be Victorson? Dancy Shadem, Tech It Realm on YouTube is doing a $100,000 treasure hunt. There's your chance at Redemption Houston. Oh, man. He'll probably do a better job than me, and it won't be found in 2 days. I am definitely doing another one post-MOAS. Because I do need redemption. I do need redemption, man. Okay. A1 Carstare, I haven't seen in a while. Made it to a live stream while I'm awake. Sorry, I know it's been a lot of night streams recently. Sorry, everybody. Daytimes have been just chaotic. David Morgan, did anyone else have a good day in the market? It was an awesome day today. It reminds me of when we were on that massive bull run before the Fed pivoted. Yeah. Scott Lumley, thank you for being a good sport about second intro. I can promise you that Five Guys is the absolute inverse of a Hot Pocket. You will feel ill after only because you are full. Number letters, I don't have hair. Okay. Christopher S. My now puts are kicking ass after hours. Unfortunately, I am unable to close them while the hedgies give me wedgies. That is the bummer. That oftentimes you get these crazy runs after hours. You're like, oh boy, my calls are going to be so awesome. And then by the time they open in the morning, it's like been shoved back down again. You're like, man. Yeah. Okay. The art of Kyle. What can you tell us about star garnets and star sapphires? Well, there's lots of star stones. You can get star quartzes, like rose quartzes. You can get star chrysoberyls, like cat's eyes. You can get a lot of stones do stars. And it has to do with reflection in the matrix. So like something like 1 in 400 sapphires will be a star sapphire or a star ruby. If I remember that correctly. And star sapphires can be worth a lot of money. A neighbor of mine has a really cool one that's about 8 or 10 carats, and his dad had been a jeweler back in New York, and it's probably a $250,000 stone on his finger. Yeah, it's rutile. That's rutilated. So rutiles are it could be inclusions, or they can just be weird. I don't want to say cleavages, because that's not quite the right term. So generally, it's the shape of the crystal between the top and the bottom of the crystal is uneven, and it creates these, I don't want to call them fractures or cleavages, but it's like a stress anomaly in the matrix of the stone, and that's what creates the star effect you'll get from them. In my treasure hunt, there was a couple of decent sized star rubies. There was an uncut star ruby that was like 80 carats. It was really big. That had not been cut or polished yet. And then I had, 1,000 carats of star rose quartz from the Black Hills that had been cabochon, been cut into like really kind of smooth spheres almost. They're really cool. Let's see if we can get a little, images. Jimmy, come on, man. Tools, type, GIF. That's what I want. There we go. See, nope, not you. Not there. That's not a GIF. That's Etsy. Just give me a GIF, man. Give me a GIF of Star Ruby. Maybe I just... Oh, that was a gifts. Dang it. Quit correcting me, man. Don't you do that. Okay. Tools. Type. GIF. That's what we want. Okay. So I bet that one might be pretty good. Nope, that's a terrible picture. This one's better. There we go. So you can see, like, as you shake it, you'll get the steady kind of almost like a little spider on there, little six-sided star. Star sapphires will be the same. Tools, type, GIF. Oh, now I get cartoons. Dang it! Just give me an actual. That's a terrible one. That's very milky. Are you gonna give me? There we go. There's a star sapphire. It's kind of a purple one. The reflection follows the light. They're really cool looking. I like them. They're very. I don't know. They give a weird 3D effect to them. And they make great rings because sapphires are so hard that they make fantastic rings for people. They're cool. If you see someone with a big star sapphire in their finger, they probably come from some money. All right, I got it. Now I got to get the star sapphire out of the corner of my eye because it's just a lot of movement happening. It's wigging me out. Move. Okay. $704. Fantastic. 70.4% of our way to our charity goal to raise money for NORD, the National Organization for Rare Diseases, helping find cures and treatments for folks that are living with some of the most strangest afflictions, and doing some good. Michelle, thank you. Mario Valdez, thank you. Bill Coyne, thank you. Anonymous, thank you. Another Anonymous, thank you. Thank you, all the Anonymouses. We've got $296 to go. 29.6% of the way, and we have made our $1,000 goal, and we're kicking ass. It's 2:48. We're an hour and 18 minutes into the show, and we're over 70% of the way there. You guys are fantastic. 240 of you watching. At this point, if every single person watching donated $1.50, we'll meet our goal. So think about that. We're so close. Okay. That was Star Sapphire one. Andrew Stewart just says Wyoming Ghost Town. Did I miss something about Wyoming Ghost Town, Andrew? I don't know. There are ghost towns in Wyoming. I've been to several of them. That wood became petrified when we scared the crap out of it. PG, regarding silica and hair thing, that include body hair? Would you be a walking cactus and every hair broke? I do remember my leg hairs being very rough for quite a while after being in the Blue Lagoon. I don't remember if my chest hairs ever did. My head hair, I had like a buzz cut, and I just basically just shaved my head again. It was like hard as a rock. So I don't know if the hairs are a little different, but I do remember my leg hairs being really, really stiff and weird. It felt weird in pants. But it was weird. Okay. Visio guy, perovskites have huge potential in solar panels. There are some stability issues, but I think they might be important for thin film, cheap solar panels, hopefully soon. I love finding out that weird things I never heard of, minerals I never heard of can be used and stuff. Wheat Wild, I'm on a plane taking advantage of a delay to watch you live as long as I can before takeoff. Fantastic. Thank you, Wheat Wild, for joining us, and have a good flight all the way across the Atlantic. Frozen State Productions, happy on birthday, you said. Is it possible to travel at the speed of thought, and how fast is that? Speed of... Well, I mean, you think... Our thinking is electrical impulses. So the speed of thought would be the speed of light, right? There's a book called... I was maybe 30 years old now, called The Cosmic Code, which did a great job describing relativity. I read it when I was in high school, and in it, they give the example of the 11 million mile man, because 1 light minute is 11 million miles. So 11 million mile man is 11 million miles tall, and he wants to take a step. So his brain fires an impulse, says, take a step. Takes a minute to get to his feet. His feet go, chunk. But the problem is that the visual confirmation plus the sensation of moving that foot takes a full minute to get to the 11 million man's brain. And then he says, time to take the other step. Shunk. Takes another minute to get back down there. So in order to take 2 steps takes 3 minutes of processing due to the distance involved with the 11 million mile man. So you cannot travel faster than the speed of thought, because the speed of thought is at the speed of light, and 11 million mile man would be a hypothetical example of that. Boom. Lost Waves don't believe Houston has never ate Five Guys. I don't even know if there's a Five Guys around here. Is there a Five Guys anywhere around here? Five Guys near me. Is there one in Seattle area? Is one in Silverdale? Huh. So apparently there's one not too far from me. So I'm here. So I'm on this island here. We have to drive off the island, up and around, and then Silverdale is like where the shopping mall is. It's like, I don't know, 40 minutes away. But there's a Five Guys there. Where's the Five Guys? Where's that? There's a Winco in Silverdale now? It's in the shopping mall? There's a Winco in the shopping mall? So it's right by the AMC Theater. There's Five Guys. Huh. I only ever go to the Costco. That's it. Like, I go to Costco, and then across the street is Goodwill. And those are the 2 places I go in Silverdale, and I go home. All right. There's a Five Guys. I can try it. I guess there's a couple in Seattle. There's one in Ballard. There's one up north, like Northgate. All right. So I've never been to a Five Guys deli. I heard they've got giant burgers. You know, go to Silverdale, get Five Guys in me. Is it as good as going up on Capitol Hill and putting a bunch of dicks in my mouth? I don't know. Dick's Burgers. It's our local burger joint. The burgers are but they are a great company, and they pay everybody an incredible living wage and pay for them to go to school. So if you want to get a college degree, Dick's will pay for it. And their burgers are still like a buck each. So, can't complain about that. Monkey Butt will eat them. She'll eat them all day long. Meanwhile, Wi-Fi for the whole flight is about $30 US, even when flying in business class. Lame. That's one of those things they should give you for paying all the extra money to be in business. They did that on Iceland Air. If I flew first class on Iceland Air last year, they gave me that little bump for like $25. I got free Wi-Fi and a meal and a seat that didn't hurt like I did in coach. Man, coach in Iceland Air was so uncomfortable. Christopher S., another thought of mine is if Kenny is with DeSantis and he holds the power we believe he has, won't he attempt to sink the market before November 8th? He'll try his best, right? Which is why the plunge protection team is probably going absolutely nuts right now. Does that taste good, Monkey? Getting in there? Is that totally helping you out? Is that, just licking your hoo-ha right there on international television for everybody. Yeah, what a lady. What a lady, huh? Yeah. Okay. Liberty Bibbity Houston, would you rather have 10,000 shares of AMC or 8,000 shares of MMTLP, 45,000 shares of MMAT? Not what they're worth now, but what they could be worth in the future. Possible squeezes. I'm not supposed to talk about these, but I would probably take the 8,000 in Acme, because the 8,000 in Acme will likely become a whole bunch in the next few weeks, and then I can use that to drop into other plays. That's what I'm saying. I'm not your friend is puka, a scientific term. Hey, pukas actually are a scientific term. So I'll show you a scientific puka. You ready? You guys ready? Okay, I gotta go back to Google Earth. We're going to fly to Hawaii. So if you guys don't know, puka is a Hawaiian term, and basically means like a hole or cavity, something like that. Oh, dang it. Come on, Google Earth. Okay, so let's leave this one volcanic island, and we'll travel to the hot side of the world. We'll go to the Big Island. We will go to Mauna Loa, and we'll go up on the slopes of Mauna Loa here. So, every 20, 30 years, there's a lava flow that comes down Mauna Loa from the rift zone here. So this thing rips open, curtain of fire happens, and lava flows downhill. And as lava flows downhill, it goes over little bumps and holes and whatnot. And sometimes the lava doesn't flow evenly. So you'll end up with a lava field. And in the lava field, you will have these little patches of trees. These are called kipukas. And these kipukas are isolated forests. They're almost like little islands. And the biologists in Hawaii discovered that when these kipukas get formed, the Drosophila, the fruit flies that are there, lose their predators because there's not a large enough area for the predators to still exist. And when they lose their predators, they no longer have the need to fly around. So they lose their wings, and the flies, the little fruit flies, become little ground crawlers. And between these kipukas, so this little patch of trees and this little patch of trees, this little patch of trees, you'll end up with 3 different evolutionary species separated flies. They all came from the same ancestor, but when they got isolated in these little forests, they lost their need to fly, and they became a completely different species than the flies next to them, and different species than the flies that dominate the larger forests. So everywhere you'll find these little kipukas that are in the middle of these lava fields all have different species of flies inside of them. And there's a whole bunch of evolutionary biologists that work at Hilo, where I went to school, and their specific work is on these different species of fly that form whenever a lava flow passes through and leaves a little forest behind. So there's a puka. There's a little hole in the lava flow. Also in basalt rocks, like the lava that comes out of the volcano, get the little gas bubbles that form. The scientific term for those are pukas. So pukas are Hawaiian terms that are donated to or taken over by the scientific community. And even pahoehoe and a'a lava, which are the 2 different types of lava flows from a basalt volcano, are Hawaiian words that are now international. They're used by geologists all over the world. So this tiny little island in Hawaii has given us the language for quite a bit of geology and science as a result. So I Not Your Friend, who's in Hawaii, knows all about pukas. And yeah, there you go. There's a couple Hawaiian terms for you. Latinum, tell the truth. Do you actually like your brother? Talk about MLTOP. I love my brother very much. He is fantastic. I'm going to respect him and not go on MMTLP or Metamat rants. Okay, Miss Missy, from the bottom of my heart, thanks so much for this, Houston. Wonder what happens when your brain's too big. You get to have brain surgery decompression to expand your dura, remove a ring of C1, etc. Holy smokes. What? Man, I had a friend who got in a really wicked car accident, and they had to drill. Well, they put a halo in her head so she couldn't move her neck around. So she had this giant halo holding her head together. And then literally there was what looked like, not quite like a syringe, but have you ever made like wine or beer at home? And in the big tub you use, you put the little airlock thing that goes like hums so that air can escape, but air can't get in. It almost looked like that. And the brain fluid would expand into this thing and then drop back down again when her brain swelling go down, and it would go back up. It looked like a barometer. They had to drill a hole in her head and attach this thing so that the excess brain fluid had somewhere to go. It wouldn't cause pressure on her skull. Absolutely nuts. I'd never thought of that before. It's they did it in Luke Cage. The Luke Cage show, and he gets a shotgun blast to the head because he's like so indestructible. He got a concussion still, and his brain was swelling, and there was nowhere for it to go, and they had to like figure out how to get the swelling out of his head. There you go. There's an example in media for you. Christopher has ever heard of Prader-Willi syndrome? Very rare genetic disorder. My younger brother has basically never has the sensation of feeling full while constantly feeling starved. Mayim Bialik is a big advocate. I read about a little kid who had something like that, and they had to like put locks on all the fridges and cabinets because the little kid would wake up and like eat all the food all night long, and essentially just eat everything in the house constantly. That's wild. So, how's your brother doing? Does he have to how does he regulate what he eats and when he eats if he's always starving? It's like the pituitary tumor that will make you think you're always thirsty and you just drink water constantly. And some people will like poison themselves with water because they're just always feeling thirsty. Speaking of which, I haven't had enough sips today. Crazy. We're just a collection of like nerve responses. Nuclear Moas, love what you're doing here, trying to give back, man. Keep it up. Ape help ape. Exactly. And we're at 74.7% of the way there. Carlos Reyes Cruz, thank you. Julie, thank you. Cameron Mirza, again. Horse Feathers, thank you. Shark Attack, thank you. So $253 to go. There's 240 of you watching. So if we donate like $1.05, each person donates $1.05 right now, we'll meet our goal. We are right there. So if you're one of the 240, just quickly go click, send, and bam. We raised $1,000 to help the fight for curing rare diseases. That'd be awesome. Miss Missy, I taught a residential school while in college. Chris asks, many of my kids had Pica. Pica and PWS were comorbidities. Huh. Scott Pullen, put your army in, pull your oil out, put your dictator in, shake it all about. You do the hokey pokey and steal your neighbor's shit. That's what it's all about. Yeah, pretty much. Pronto, Houston, I believe in MOAS, and I am fully DRS. Recently watching Girk bash MOAS believers has become tiring. Does financial revolution need smart people or true believers? I think it needs a lot of things. I think it needs smart people. I think it needs somewhat of our weird cultish mentality of buy and hold and being stubborn, but also needs luck and a whale or two. I think what we're missing is some cavalier whale to jump in. I mean, if Elon really wanted to, he could have triggered MOAS 2 years ago. I mean, you could, without becoming an activist investor, you could, let's say $1 billion. $1 billion would probably be enough to trigger MOAS, especially on one particular stock. And let's just pick GameStop, right? So GameStop floating around $25 a share. There's 3 million share float, right? If you went out and you bought $100 million in far out of the money calls, like you staggered them from a couple months out, several months out, year and a half out, and you broke those suckers up, $100 million worth into all those far outside the money calls. You took another $100 million, maybe $300 million, and you bought closer, near in the money calls that were spaced maybe $1-2 apart and spaced out throughout the calendar year. So it's trading $26. You bought some calls for a couple months from now at 27. You bought some calls for a week or two after that at 28, and some calls for a week or two after that at 29. And you call some calls for a week or two, and you just got like tens of thousands of calls for just staggering its way up. And then you took the remaining $500 million and you set up at your family fund, you set up a situation where you lined up your limit orders. And you're using nothing but the market maker call codes like 777. So you're ordering shares, 777 of them every single solitary time at ever increasing prices. And so that in no time, and the 100,000 shares that Ryan Cohen bought in lit market, he demonstrated just how much he could flex the entire market by buying 100,000 shares. And if a billionaire wanted to, they could cause the price to rise, put a bunch of deep out of the money calls in the money and execute them, which would cause a giant gamma squeeze, which would cause them to be able to execute their other calls, which would cause more gamma, which could cause them to exercise their calls, which would cause more gamma, and they could get to the point where those deep out of the money calls would get triggered, and all of a sudden you would have 600-700 million shares all executed in deep out of the money calls that suddenly the hedge funds and the market makers have to find shares for that don't exist. And it would cause MOAS like that. You would turn your $1 billion into $1 trillion overnight on something like that. You would 1,000x it in no time. But, you know, they're all those rich guys are part of the same damn club. And we don't quite have a whale on our side yet who's willing to do something like that. So, yeah. So that's where we are. We need a cavalier whale, and we need to be able to show them just how much money they can make by triggering MOAS, and that would be fantastic. Okay. Ian Rain, Houston, listening on the road. Great to hear you talking about homelessness. Oh, yeah, it's something like even if you don't know someone who's homeless, homelessness affects everybody because, you know, it affects the aesthetics of your community, right? Even on just a completely superficial level, seeing homelessness everywhere affects people emotionally, affects them psychologically, affects real estate. It affects all sorts of things, not to mention the person it's happening to and what that does. I was reading a Reddit post that went viral from someone who was from Europe, and they were at a conference in LA, and they're like, holy shit, how do you let your fellow humans live like this? Why is this normal to you? This should not be normal. This does not happen in other industrialized nations. Why are you just like walk past 100 homeless people and you don't think anything of it? What is broken in your brains? And this one guy from Canada responded that his girlfriend was visiting from Toronto, and they went for a bike ride, and they had to stop their bike ride in LA because she just broke down crying at the thousands of homeless people they were passing by. And he was like, holy shit, like, I'm broken. I'm broken from seeing this every single day. And I'm not even the one experiencing homelessness. Like, this is a societal, I don't know, delusion or something. I don't get it. We are a broken society if that's where we are. And my guess is that not fixing homelessness is a big business, right? If we fix homelessness, then we wouldn't need billions and billions and billions of dollars of these charities, because what would they be doing? If they got their executive directors, they've got their employees, they've got their vendors and everything else, they got their fundraising. And if all of a sudden we don't have homeless people, we don't need the shelters, we don't need the soup kitchens, we don't need all this stuff. We'd have a system set in place that would find people homes and get them the help they need. We got to subvert that dominant paradigm, baby. That's what we got to do. Board Gamer, why did some bones of dinosaurs stay behind, others did not? We've lost so much in history due to so many animals or beings gone. Yeah, it depends. You have to get fossils, you largely have to be in a certain type of environment, which is why when I die, I want to be laid down in a bog so that I am fossil Houston that someone can find later. Just lay me down in a still water of a bog and let the nutrients reclaim my tissue and turn me into a perfect fossil specimen for later. Put a cell phone in one hand and a rock tool in the other, a loincloth and a pair of Nike Airs, and just let the future anthropologist be as confused as can be as to what era I came from. Ian Rain disabled from being shot by a rogue off-duty cop, now living with a bullet lodged back in my back and 70,000 medical debt. Holy shit, Ian. Oh my gosh. Well, then you know exactly what we're talking about. Oh my gosh, man. Holy smokes. Well, I'm glad you're here. I'm sorry it happened to you. It's just gnarly, man. There was a kid in my high school got shot in the butt by a cop because the cop mishandled his gun. That didn't disable him, but it was quite embarrassing for the cop and for the entire community. Not Saint Funk met my girlfriend and she has lupus. She became ill, had to use all my savings to save her life. She couldn't work and had no income to pay for medical treatments. She wouldn't be alive today. See, and that's another effect of not having a national healthcare system in the U.S. is that 76% of bankruptcies in the U.S. are due to medical debt. Everyone is going to have to go to the hospital at some point, whether it's through disease or an accident, injury, whatever. Everyone has to go to the hospital. So why don't we just fund hospitals at cost? Right? Like you go to the emergency room, you're going to be in a giant wait. They have all those intake forms and everything else you got to do and all this trying to find out your insurance and blah, blah, blah. What if you just went there, you gave them your name, they helped you, and you went home? You wouldn't need these mountains of administrators. You wouldn't need the billing. You wouldn't have to have these doctors filling all this insurance paperwork all the time, and you'd get more patients cycling through because there'd be less of this bureaucratic paperwork because everything would just be covered. Your tax dollars would just go to a pool, and that pool would cover every medical ailment there is. And it could cost half as much and get twice as many people treated. If we had an NH-style system, like the cost per patient of the NHS in the UK, which is not even the best healthcare. It's like a top 15 healthcare system in the world. But if US is like not even top 40. But if you had an NHS system in the United States economy would immediately save $2.2 trillion a year. It would cost the same amount to treat every single solitary American for healthcare as what we spend in just Medicare and Medicaid. So the amount of money that we're already spending in taxes for Medicare and Medicaid would be enough to cover every single solitary American in a universal healthcare system. Not only that, it would save $15,000 per year per worker in America. Because workers are the ones who pay taxes. Those are the ones that pay for Medicare, that pay for health insurance and whatnot. So I don't understand why we don't have Amazon, Microsoft, General Motors, GE, Walmart, Marriott Hotels, all these huge employers who could literally save $15,000 per worker per year if we just had a national healthcare system. Can you imagine what their earnings reports would look like? You know, our school systems. America spends more per kid for public schooling than any other nation in the world, and we've got really low outcomes for it. But guess what? Of the $10,000 a year per student that we're spending, 30% of that is specifically for health insurance for employees. So if we eliminated the school districts from having to pay specific health insurance for their employees because we had a national healthcare system, all of a sudden, the U.S. drops to like a 40th ranked nation in money spent per student in education. So we would then could take that money, that extra $3,000 a year, and put it into teacher pay, put it into improving our schools, put it into resources and science labs and art programs and metal shop and everything else. But we don't. We have a really expensive healthcare system, and it sucks 1/6 of our entire economy out of our pockets every single year to have really shitty coverage. And then it bankrupts, 700,000 Americans every year? So 700,000 of you are getting bankrupted by your health bills every year. It's absolutely silly, man. Absolutely silly. We're at $788. 212 away from our goal. Anonymous Riptide Redemption jumped in there again. Daniel Batchelor, Anonymous, Barf Boo, and Anonymous. Thank you, everybody. We're so close. There's 276 of you watching. If all 276 of you donated 90 cents, we will get to our $1,000 goal. Let's do it. And let's try not to drop water on the keyboard, Houston. That is trouble. We have been programmed to raise money for a new keyboard. Okay. Miss Missy, we don't nearly have enough facilities. We should shut down the vast majority of state hospitals and let them rot. We shut down the vast majority of state hospitals, let them rot. Now, the tourist attractions for bored YouTubers. Yeah. Western State Hospital in Washington is a ghost town that YouTubers will be like, well, look at this creepy place, when it should be a building housing folks who need help. We could afford to do it 80 years ago. Why not now? Okay. Well, I got to all the grandma area. Freaking grandma. What a miserable person. It's like when we had all those, like a year ago, we had like Queen of England, George Washington. It's just a bunch of accounts that were just super awful. And they just spammed and spammed and spammed. And their entire goal is to just be jerks that get me distracted and make people angry. But I don't get it. I don't get why people have to spend their lives doing that stuff. Snort alert. Oi, Houston, fighting homelessness or fighting the homeless is the question, and it shouldn't. Yeah. Oh. Holy smokes, we just jumped the gun. Who was absolutely fantastic there? Oh my goodness. Where were we? Anonymous. Prontal, thank you. Anonymous, thank you. Riptide, thank you. Holy shit, Anonymous. Holy cow. Thank you, whoever that was, just rocketed us past our goal with a $500 donation. I tip my cap to you, quiet, anonymous person, and another anonymous donation after that. Like, I hope it wasn't a typo. If it was a typo, I am so sorry, but thank you, and I hope you can still pay your rent. That was absolutely... thank you so much. I can't speak for the NORD organization, the National Organization for Rare Diseases, but thank you for me, from them, or for them. We did it, man. We did it with time to spare this time. I wasn't a tired person at the end of the 2 hours going, please get me across the line. Thank you so much. You guys are fantastic. Wow. Wowee. Dude. And I always forget to say, shoot, I need to remember to say this at the beginning. If you're watching the show later, down somewhere around the screen is a donate button, and there will always be a donate button there in perpetuity. And you can click that button, donate, and it will go straight through YouTube to the charity. YouTube collects nothing from it. I collect nothing from it. It goes straight to the charity. And it is wonderful. This is the coolest discovery I made on YouTube so far, was the ability to do these charity shows. And I love it. I love the fact that we have you folks in here taking your hard-earned money and donating it to good causes. And we can do this once a month. And hopefully when MOAS happens, every show I do will be a charity show. That would be fantastic. But man, thank you, anonymous donor, for that big one. Thank you, everybody else. I mean, there's still another $800 worth of you folks who jumped in here, and AVTV. Thank you for helping out. Right, monkey. Celebrating happiness. Okay. And I think I'm still like an hour behind the chat. All right, there's all the crappy grandmas. Okay, get past that terrible grandma. Okay. All right. All right, where are we going here? All right. William Morgan, there's not enough healthcare workers to take care of mentally ill. Funding is the main issue. People don't want to do it. That is another problem, is that we've made healthcare so brutal that people are leaving the industry in droves, especially the trauma of COVID really, really, really ate away at our healthcare industry. On the other side of that, we also make becoming a healthcare worker, especially a doctor, really inaccessible for people. The amount of time they have to devote is brutal, and it's really expensive, and then they're essentially abused for 4 years of the residency before they're even allowed to like be a real doctor. We need more medical schools. We need to be able to move folks who want to become a doctor into those medical schools and fill them up. We need to reduce the hours and pains of becoming a resident. And we also need to make it financially viable for doctors to be in rural areas. That's another huge problem we have, is that rural hospitals can't find doctors because the pay isn't as good as urban areas. And usually they're so alone that you'll have a rural hospital out in the middle of nowhere, and it's one hospital feeding a huge geographic area, and you might have one doctor on shift for the entire hospital. And it's just not a sustainable outcome. So if we had more standardized pay, and we could pay those folks to be out in the middle of nowhere, what it would take for them to be out there, we might be able to attract more doctors' locations. But we definitely need more training. We need more doctors. We need more medical schools. We need lots of that stuff. Curious one, thank you for jumping in there. 1.3K. I think it's the most we've raised in a while. So, Green Days, baby. Yeah. They're fantastic. Yeah, just start pulling money from their pensions to pay out settlements. Fix the problem fast. That's actually not a terrible idea. The qualified immunity stuff, though, is a big problem for the police. And, I think there should be another thing for the police. I think we should have national standardization. So individual departments can hire and train, but they must meet a national certification for the entire country. And if an officer loses that certification, they cannot work in law enforcement anywhere else. The cop here on the island who shot the mentally ill man and then tried to cover it up. What happened was the mentally ill guy dialed 911 and then hung up. So the cops were sent to do a welfare check, and they knocked on the door. The guy opened the door, saw the cops, closed the door, and they shot him through the door. Then the cops said that he had come at them with an axe, but there was no axe. And when the ambulances arrived, the cops wouldn't let them treat the man. And so he ended up bleeding out over the course of like 2 hours before they finally let him in, and they could have saved his life. And it turned out the guy who did the shooting had come from the LAPD where he had shot somebody else. And the Internal Affairs LAPD was basically like, resign or we're going to have to charge you with a crime. And that was his settlement, where they should have just charged him with a crime. So he ended up getting a job with our police department and shot another person. We need a national standard for training and certification for law enforcement. And another thing we probably need is a federal agency whose specific job it is to do nothing but investigate and prosecute police malfeasance. Because as it stands now, when a cop commits a crime, the local DA has to be the one who charges them. But there's a conflict of interest there because the local DA needs the police to give them crimes to prosecute. That's their coworker. And now they have to prosecute their coworker. So it ends up being really, really difficult in a conflict of interest way for these prosecutors to effectively prosecute bad cops. And so those bad cops remain. And if we had a federal agency whose job it was only to monitor law enforcement, so that would mean prosecutors who would prosecute them in federal court, not in local courts, and investigators who had no connection whatsoever with local police departments. Like if you were ever a cop, you could never become a person who worked for this federal agency. There'd be no. You would only work for that federal agency, and if you ever left the agency to work for a local police department, you could never come back in. So there'd be no conflicts of interest whatsoever in there. It would, Mount St. Funky could raise police pay and exclude candidates that have narcissistic disorders. Well, cops get paid quite a bit, especially with overtime. But excluding narcissistic personality disorders, excluding sociopathy, excluding psychopathy would go a long ways. But there are beat cops here in Seattle that make $400,000 a year. I'm not kidding. The highest paid public employees in the state of Washington, outside of like the University of Washington football and basketball coach, are police officers. They make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. And there's a huge thing that cops will do. Like if their shift ends at 6 o'clock, they'll make a bunch of arrests at 5:30. So they get a whole bunch of overtime for filling out the paperwork. So they get paid $200-300 an hour to fill out paperwork for the rest of the evening as part of their overtime contract. It's pretty wild, the way they can milk that stuff. But yeah, there's beat cops in Seattle that make $400,000 a year. And that was 3 years ago, the last time that the reports came out. It's pretty crazy. And there's a bunch of cops who are like, "It's not worth it." I'm like, where are you gonna make $400,000 a year, man? You're gonna move to like Podunk. Podunk's not gonna pay $400,000 a year. They will say you pay $150, but yeah, it's wild. Yes, my bike is a car. Car's a house. My bike is a car. Fat Bones, I lived in a tent for a year while traveling the U.S. Was I homeless? Probably. You would be homeless in the U.K. U.S., I mean, if you're traveling and you had a car with you, probably not. Bill Coyne, Houston, great information on the homeless. We have a production line producing defective people, but the solution is to paint the house. Yeah. That's a great way of putting that. Like we are institutionalizing generational trauma with the system we have. And my sister, who used to live in LA, we were talking about this. And you have the Skid Row, right? Skid Row, basically the city of LA is like, there's so many homeless, we're just going to push them all into Skid Row and just forget about it. And now you've got generational homeless. You have folks that are like fourth generation homeless that live in this area. So if you're going to take that person who's fourth generation homeless and try to put them into a house, they don't have the context or the experience of what it's like to even live in a house, right? They've never been in one. They've been living on the street their entire life. Their parents live on the street. Their grandparents live on the street, and so on. So what they know is street life. And so you need to introduce those people to what life is like not on the street. Because in their opinion, they're like, well, all my friends are there. Why would I leave my friends? So if you can lift everybody up and out of there, you're getting somewhere. But yeah, we've essentially institutionalized homelessness for generations of folks. And it's just absolutely just tragic. bum, bum, bum. My knee-jerk reaction is to yell earthquake or under a door frame or archway. Yeah. I do a good job diving under tables and like grabbing a dog or cat that's near me and throwing them on the table with me when the earthquakes happen. We had a little one the other night at like 1 a.m. It basically made my monitor just shake a whole bunch, and it shook for too long for me to realize that it wasn't the dogs scratching themselves. Marvin G, 340 GME. Can I retire after MOAS? I mean, if it's going for thousands and thousands and thousands a share, yeah. I mean, at $1,000 a share, that gets you $340,000, right? At $3,000 a share, that's $1 million. That $1 million put into a Vanguard gets you $50,000 a year. That's pretty good retirement income. If you're getting $10,000 a share, you're at $3.4 million. That's plenty. Even after taxes, that's plenty to live off of with an annuity program. So if we're getting to millions of dollars a share, for at least some of the shares, then yeah, MOAS will be nuts. Andrew Stewart, coordinates not working for you again? Man, why some people can't get coordinates sent in? I don't see any Andrew Stewart coordinates coming in here. Weird. I did get coordinates from Wilhelmsen. But I don't see any others. But Andrew Stewart, thank you for the donation. We're there. We're at 3:30. I'm going to go for a few more minutes here. Let's see if we can. K. Tano McLovin, Houston, my wife asked why you read all the comments. Well, because that's what the show is. Without you guys talking about stuff and asking questions and giving us a conversation piece, I got nothing. I don't know if I can riff for 2 hours and make it interesting without having you guys prompting me with stuff. I require stimulus. I will react to stimulus. So I need you to poking me and give me something to talk about. Purpley Outside, Houston, thank you. I appreciate your voice. Thank you, Purpley Outside. Mount St. Funk, we are not broken. We have never operated correctly in the first place. That's why people are so resistant to change. They don't understand what they see. Yeah. Reminds me of my friend was a manager of a brewery, and he had this one employee who was just completely useless. And we were talking one day, and he mentioned that like this useless employee actually did the right thing for once. And I was like, "Hey, broken clocks, right twice a day." And then he looked at me dead in the eyes and he said, "Yes, and a perfectly working clock can be wrong all the time." It's like, damn. But yeah, you're right. He just set that time wrong. It is never correct, and it's always working and just doing the wrong thing at all times. Yeah, that's the wisest thing I may have heard any of my friends say to me before. Rasmus Kjør, I don't know if I'm saying that right. I don't know how to pronounce the AE thing. In your opinion, when will MOAS happen? 100% DRS, dividend, or something else? Greetings from Denmark. 100% DMS, I don't think can hurt, but I don't think it will necessarily help. We have instances in the past where the entire float has been locked up and naked shorting still was rampant. I don't think DRSing things will stop naked shorting from happening. I think the biggest problem will be that hedge funds, institutions, and banks all of a sudden are all losing money like crazy, and they're going to grasp at anywhere they can get cash from anyone who owes them money, and they're going to say, "Give me my money." And those hedge funds may not have the money to give them, which is going to result in liquidations, which is going to result in cascades across the entire market, which is going to result and forced buying everywhere, which can result in banks collapsing further, which means governments are going to have to pour money into these banks to close these positions and to save the banks. And that's kind of, I think that's kind of the where we are, Erasmus. We need cataclysm to like clean the slate, clean the rune stick. Tony Tran, Houston, who wins Sunday, Giants or Seahawks? Oh, man, the Seahawks are so much better than I thought they're going to be. I will admit, I thought the Seahawks were going to be 4-12 this season. Their defense sucks, still does kind of suck. But Geno Smith and their offense is a top 5 offense. It is loads better than I thought they were going to be. So hats off to Pete Carroll and the team for actually having consistent offense. I mean, Geno Smith has been Pro Bowl caliber the entire season so far. And it's amazing to see Russell Wilson just fall apart in Denver. Like, man, spent $240 million on that guy. They can't afford an O-line. Russell wants to be a pocket passer, but no one can protect him, so he ends up having to run anyway. And at least in Seattle, the Russell scramble, the wide receivers were used to it. And Russell was expecting it, but in Denver, he's like, no, I want to sit here and I want to pass. Then he gets smoked by the defense. Excuse me. But if the Seahawks had like a top 25 defense, they would be undefeated right now. Their defense has a lot of holes in it. Let's see what the Giants are doing. New York Giants standings. Giants are 6-1. They are a good team. Let's see here. New York Giants defense ranking. Okay. Wait. Team rankings. How are they 6-1 and they're 29th? So the Giants team stats. They're 29th in offense and 28th in defense, and they're 6-1. What? How on earth? 0 interceptions. Huh. What the heck? How on earth? How are the Giants 29th in offense? And 28th in defense and 6-1. That blows my mind. Okay. That's crazy. Okay. Although New York Giants are +3. All right, I'm giving it to the Seahawks. Seahawks may have an absolutely terrible stat line, but goodness gracious. Seahawks are at least top 5 offense, and they're like 27th in defense. So defenses both suck. Man, all right. That blows my mind. How are they 6-1 by pure accident? All right, that'll be an interesting game. Hey, we got another anonymous. We got Martin Weiss coming in from Switzerland. Hopefully I'll be back in Switzerland in January, and Martin and I can go have a delicious lunch somewhere again. That'll be fantastic. Thank you for jumping in there, everybody. Who says you don't have a whale? There we go. I may have actually skipped a couple people here. Okay. I think I can get through the rest of these, and then we can call her a day. Daniel Batchelor, Houston, I'm a programmer in the healthcare industry, and hospital billing is the crookedest thing I've ever witnessed. Yeah. Folks. I realize I'm on Mauna Loa still. If you have crazy healthcare bills, right? And your crazy healthcare bills are eating away at your life, and you're poor, and you're going to be facing something like bankruptcy, go to the website for the hospital you were treated for. On that website, It'll be in the about section. It'll be in the contact section. Somewhere in there will be a form for forgiving your medical debt. And these hospitals are technically nonprofits, even though they've got executives that are making millions of dollars a year and weird investors and all stuff. They're nonprofits. And part of their nonprofit status is by law, they're required to forgive the debt under financial hardship for people. So if you find yourself with a crazy amount of debt, and I learned this long after I needed it, after I had my car accident and everything, my bicycle accident, you can file with that hospital for getting your debt forgiven by the hospital, and pretty much they have to forgive it. It's part of their requirement under their nonprofit status. So you can probably avoid gnarly bankruptcy and things like that just by going to the website and filling out the form for forgiveness of that medical debt. So I highly recommend it. Jump in there and do that. So Danny Batchelor, yes, billing in the healthcare industry is absolutely crooked. And they'll charge too much because it's part of the negotiations. They're like, it costs $900 for a Tylenol. And because they know if they charge this much, then the health insurance company will be like, no, $350 for the Tylenol. And they go, okay. It's stupid. Just pay for things at cost using the purchasing power of the entire U.S. taxpayer base. It'd be so much cheaper. Okay. AVTV, I hope it wasn't $5, lol. I'm glad that Anonymous was able to just make it rain on our little brain stripper show. Thank you. Thank you so much. That was awesome. Miss Missy, thank you, Anonymous, at all. From the bottom of my heart, our individual diseases are maybe rare, but the incidences of rare diseases is far from it. Yeah. Yeah. AVTV, formerly known as Bullish on Houston's second intro. Well, you got a third intro today, so there you go. Mount St. Funk, I dropped out of pre-med after 2 years because it cost $20,000 per year in the 90s, and that was too much money for my family to afford. And that's another bummer, is that like, again, we've talked about tuition and things before. State schools need to be tuition free. Yeah, charge for private schools, whatever. But state schools should be tuition free to give everyone the opportunity to get the education they need to better themselves and society as a whole, and not stick tons of debt on fledgling adults who are just entering the world. It's not a great way to run your economy or your society. Yogi, can someone share a clip of Houston explaining how to trigger MOAS with Dave Portney? Oh, yeah, cut that sucker out and send that one off. Christopher asks, Houston, thoughts on why Boss Blunts is so against DRS? He has great DD, but not sure about thoughts. I mean, I don't particularly care about DRS. DRS if you want, by all means, but for me, I don't see much actual tactical benefit from it. And it just seems kind of like a pain in the butt. So that's why I don't bother. I have no idea what Boss Blunts' feelings are about it. I have not heard him talk about that. But I honestly don't care. DRS if you want. Don't DRS. Whatever. I don't think it's going to make much of a difference in the end. I mean, since the DRS movement began, the price has steadily fallen. Before everyone was aware of DRS, we had incredible volatility happening. And now it's like, little wiggles here and there. That friggin' guy, thoughts on the climate activists throwing mashed potatoes at fancy art? I mean, it's getting headlines. I don't think it's getting the headlines that people are like, oh, we're doing something about climate change. It's more getting headlines of like, look at these idiots. No, I think, going more Earth first and like blowing up pipelines probably much more effective. than anything else. Like, force people to adopt other technologies is much better than like defacing Van Gogh or something and then gluing yourself to the wall. You just look like a weirdo. It doesn't seem useful to me. Martin Weiss, do you think there'll still be a Credit Suisse in January? I think November is going to be incredibly brutal for these big banks. We're going to get quarterly reports for them. The quarterly reports are going to look god-awful. Their stock prices are going to collapse. Find out when the quarter 3 reports are for these guys. If you buy puts the night before, you might make money off of it. I think every single bank is going to have really, really bad outcomes. And the quarter 4 reports are going to be even worse when those come out in like January or February. These banks everyone's going down. No one has money. They're all going to need massive bailouts. And as far as banks on the cusp, Credit Suisse might be the most on the brink of collapse of any other major bank in the world. And I don't think Switzerland has the ability to bail it out. I think if anyone bails it out, it's going to be some sort of weird swap that the U.S. Fed does in Switzerland to save Credit Suisse. Just Switzerland as a country, it doesn't have a large enough tax base or GDP to save a bank as large as Credit Suisse. Man, from PR department, please support the charity. Dossier, state doctoral programs cannot be free. Do you know what it costs the state universities? I mean, a lot of doctoral programs are funded by grants that the doctoral students manage to obtain to fund their research. I'm okay with making them all free. I'm okay with putting a cap on how much a football coach can earn and taking the $80 million, $100 million a year D1 program football and basketball teams can earn and putting that into paying for scientific research. I'm okay with that. October 27th, 2022, Credit Suisse will present its third quarter 2022 financial results strategy update. Okay, so tomorrow, puts on Credit Suisse. Because on Thursday, they're going to be announcing their really, 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 really bad earnings, be my guess. Michael David Houston, have you ever grown that nice beard way out? The longest I can go is like a month. I physically cannot endure longer than that because it grows out and then it curls and it starts trying to grow back into my face and it's so itchy I just got to shave it off. So on November 1st, I will be clean shaven for the first time in a year. Actually clean shaven. I grow my beard out all of November, and then on December 1st, I shave a goofy mustache on my face. That's my tradition. I'll have the stupidest mustache you've ever seen in your entire life. Last year's was absolutely terrible. It was just a garbage mustache. But I usually make something goofy in my face. I've done like a man with a leash walking a dog. The dog was peeing on a fire hydrant. I did a big semi-truck and the mud flap lady. I've done an X-Wing fighter and a TIE fighter. I did the Death Star blowing up Alderaan. I did Pac-Man, food pellets, and the Ghost on this side. What else have I done, Monkey? Done geometric shapes, because sometimes I try to make something and then I goof it up. I'm like, well, weird shapes in the face, and that was last year. I totally messed up last year's. Yeah, so that's where I'm at in there. Antonio Baez, some homeless do not want help. Oftentimes comes with conditions like being sober or nor couples or pets. That's one thing that needs to change. Is we literally need to get people homes. Just get them homes and put them in, get a roof over their head without the conditions. But you have the options in those facilities that you can get counseling, you can have group therapy, you can have things like that. But yeah, the conditions for homelessness are one of those things that really stops the ability to fix that root problem. And a lot of folks who are like, well, I don't want that. I don't want a home. And you say, tough shit, you're going in there anyway. Like that's, I'm sorry, but sometimes you have to be like, look, you being on the street is not a viable option. We're putting into this building. Whether you like it or not, you are going to be in this building. Quit your bitching. And you just give them a home. Or you say you're going to this treatment facility, or you're going to this mental health care facility. I don't care what you want. We are going to decide what's best for you. Because you are on the street and you refuse to have a home, tells us you've got a mental disorder, and we are going to treat that. Whether you want it treated or not, the option is not for you to be on the street. We are going to force you to get the treatment you need. And, that's, a lot of folks say that's really wrong, but having the streets flooded with homeless is not the best method at anything. When I was in Paris for 3 days in January, I saw like 5 homeless people in the entire main part of Paris. I didn't make it out to like the further away parts of the city where, there's, economically speaking, it's probably not as great. But in the heart of Paris, I saw 5. And each one of those homeless people, each time I walked by, there was like 5 social workers trying to help them, get them food, whatever. And it's remarkable. When I was in London 3 years ago, I did a 34-mile walk around the city. I saw two homeless people the entire time on the street. If I get off the ferry in Seattle, I get off the ferry, get on the street, I will see 50 or 100 homeless people in just my sight line getting off the ferry in downtown Seattle. So just in the first 6 inches of Seattle, I will see 10 to 50 times as many homeless people as I do in 2 major world cities that are much larger than the city of Seattle itself. It's pretty remarkable. And it's obvious that that system is completely broken, man. Dossier, it's over $200,000 state pays to train a medical doctor and over $300,000 to train a dentist. Not sure about geologists. I think they have pound sand or rocks. Yeah, it costs a fortune, but we need them. We need doctors, and we need the ability to train them and get them into medical schools. And if it costs $200,000 or $300,000, okay. We're paying a football coach $7 million a year. We can pay for some doctors to get trained that actually help society. Michael, Mr. Houston, how much time do you spend sculpting your beard? When I do the weird mustache every year, it might take an hour, a little more than an hour to do it all. I do have like a tiny little beard trimmer, but sometimes it's not powerful enough, and I have to like just kind of do weird pinches and use my regular Norelco, Phillips Norelco, whatever, for that. Yeah, is that it? I do have to get going here in a little bit. I want to thank everybody. Who is Mike Jones? Thank you for donating. We raised over $1,300. A big thank you. We had a couple of huge donors today. Thank you so much for those folks. Charity Tuesdays are the best. And a reminder to the folks who are watching this one at home, as a recorded version later, somewhere under or to the side of the screen will be a donate button. You're welcome to donate anytime. You watch this show a year from now, you can still hit that donate button and it will go straight to the National Organization for Rare Diseases, to the research to find cures and treatments for these rare diseases. You guys make Charity Tuesday awesome. This is the best. It is the best freaking day of the month. And I look forward to these days so much. I just love being able to like take all you wonderful people and do some good with that. Being a niche internet micro celebrity, this seems to be like the very least that we can do to help those folks out. Have a great conversation. and help people in the process. And for me and Monkey Butt, right, Monkey? She doesn't care. I'm still talking to a wall as far as she's concerned. It does great wonders. And thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. And I am going to bid you adieu. I'll see you tomorrow. I have no idea if it'll be a daytime or a nighttime show tomorrow. I may have some errands I have to do, so it might be a late night tomorrow. But I'll see you tomorrow at some point. And enjoy yourselves. Take care of yourselves and each other. And toodaloo. I'm not going to drop the chair this time. I'm not going to adjust anything. Very cool. Right, Monkey?